Hi, everybody, and welcome to the ACMike Show. I'm your host, ACMike Lopez, and this show will be everything from entertainment to sports to politics to food, anything and everything that makes this city pop. On today's show, we have special guest Jennifer Ray Stine. She's the founder of Fortune Web Marketing and the VP of We Star Productions. We also have Beth Tinnon, entertainer, singer, everything, courtesy Dave Pena. And after that, we'll also bring you the developer and real estate mogul, Mark Callazzo. That's of Tennessee Avenue. Folks, we'll be right back with Jennifer Ray Stine. Stay tuned. Hey, folks, welcome back to the ACMike Show. We got our first guest here, young lady, as the founder of Fortune Web Marketing, vice president of We Star Productions, Jenny Ray Stine. Jenny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad that you were able to join us. Listen, let the folks get to know you a little bit. You're by way of Asbury Park, but there's some local ties. When I say local, the shore is local. Always, but you got some serious local ties to Atlantic County. Let the folks know who you are and where you're from.
Sure. So like you mentioned, I'm the president and founder of Fortune Web Marketing, and we are a full service online marketing company, and we have offices in downtown Asbury Park, as well as in Redondo Beach outside of LA. And I'm also the vice president and creative director of We Star Productions, which is a 501c3 video production company. But what not many people realize is that I grew up between Asbury Park and Atlantic City. So I'm that girl that was juggled between both cities and saw all of them rise and fall and rise and fall in all of their glory, and in their dark days. And they both have my heart. So it's an honor to be on the show. It's an honor to be taking everything we do at Fortune Web and We Star Productions and all of our nonprofit work from my agency and bringing it down to Atlantic City. My mother still lives on Jimmy Leeds Road, right down the street from Stockton University. So I'm right in that hood all the time. And it's an honor for you to have me tonight, Mike.
Listen, I appreciate it. And shout out to Stockton. I like that. That's real good for me. So to bring more people who say Stockton. So listen, so again, local ties, you know how it was out here. You went to Absegami. I went to Oakcrest, a couple of years apart. I'm an old head, but there was always that rivalry. But the one thing, like many kids and adults and what we're doing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit later in the interview. Talk to us about your love for music, whether it's Asbury Park or on a national level.
Well, yeah, I think that my very first concert was Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes in 1987 for WNEW on the beach in Asbury Park. My little sister wound up falling asleep. I think I was eight or nine, and my little sister was 5 or 6. And my dad took us and she fell asleep. And I kept thinking, how can she fall asleep on the beach during this concert? Like, one, it's loud, and two, this is awesome. So right there, I just fell in love with music, and it's evolved. But I am that quintessential Jersey Shore rock girl at heart. I have a lot of different genres that I love and that we bring into a lot of our productions at We Star. We do a lot of event marketing through Fortune Web too. So we kind of like run the gamut when it comes to music genres, but Jersey Shore, right on the beach, is where it all started.
And it so is. I remember back in like 1982 or 83, one of my first concerts, 15, 16 years old, was watching the Beach Boys. I think there was 350,000. And some people say 500,000, who knows? But it was just an amazing event to see people outside. And again, where it's unique to us, we have the beach, we have the outdoors. There's other outdoor venues, but there's nothing like watching or listening to a concert on the beach when you hear the waves and the smell of salt air and people having a good time and beach balls going. We recently got to know each other through social media, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. But we just recently had a really cool show, Monopoly City Music Series. It was a lot of fun at Bourré. And let's talk a little bit about that invention of yours and the crew and how much fun that was. And the key word, series.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thank you. You're the hostess with the mostest, ACMike in the house. We appreciate you. It was amazing. You
You're
did an
welcome.
amazing job. Cannot thank you enough. But we've had that model up in Asbury Park for a while out of We Star Productions. We're really just trying to elevate communities all around, right? And the people that really need it the most right now are small businesses, venues, musicians and artists.
Right.
And nonprofits, right? So those are all key components of a lot of the live music events that we produce. And then we also live stream it. So all the funds raised, go to the nonprofit and our musicians. We obviously want to sell tickets for whatever capacity the venue can hold right now. And all of those proceeds are donated back to the nonprofit and musicians as well. We typically get a sponsor for the evening that covers all of our crew costs, again, at cost, because We Star Productions is a 501c3. And our very, very first show was Thursday, March 4th at Bore. And it is part of the series that we have affectionately named Monopoly City Music Series. So we have a couple others coming up right now at a couple of venues on the Orange Loop, and we're looking to expand that. So any of your viewers that want to be a musician or an artist or a sponsor or a venue, get in touch with ACMike and he'll make it happen.
There you go. Even a videographer or anything like that.
Yeah.
So much fun. Again, Bore, great place out there on New York Avenue in Atlantic City. And the development of those couple streets out there in Atlantic City. And later on in the show, we're going to have another guest, Mark Callazzo, who's going to touch on a little bit of developer out there. It's just an amazing to see what it was a few years ago and then what it's become. When you see these groups and these bands and whatnot, one of the things I do and I pride myself on is getting out, whatever type of venue it is, and saying hi and supporting it. A lot of times you see a lot of the locals are the same folks, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's great when you got that bought in, dug in group of locals that come in. But what I noticed the other night out there, and then in the last couple of years, whether it's Tennessee Avenue or the Irish Pub or wherever it may be on those streets, so many foreign faces, and that's what I believe that the Asbury thing's going to bring to us. Of course, music brings to us. When you guys started that out there in Asbury Park, did you see some of that, or was it more so the bought-in Asbury Park crew?
It's a little bit of both. Asbury Park brings in people from all over. We have such a fantastic and well-known music community. We have established venues and restaurants and bars and concerts on the beach, things like that. So it was a little bit of both out there. But, when we really started the live stream aspect through We Star Productions, it was really the Asbury Park community and Asbury Park artists, simply because everything was very much still in lockdown back then when we really said, hey, let's do these, this live stream component. But as things are opening, up a little more now, we are seeing more and more of what Asbury is, and was come back to life. And we also have like a lot of new people coming in and opening up restaurants and venues and things like that we're really excited about. And, if we can bring any of that little spark to Atlantic City, then we're happy to do so. We always say that beneath every great city, there's a heartbeat, right? And we felt that in Asbury for a while, and I feel it again now in Atlantic City. And I think if we can just elevate everybody in the community, both communities, any community, right? We all play a part in that. So
that's right. I believe, and I love when you say elevate. They say, hey, listen, we got about 30 seconds left. So tell folks where they could find you. And I'll be putting it out there also on my social. Go ahead, Jenny. It's all you.
Okay, well, the easiest thing to do is follow us on social media at We Star Productions. You can also check out our website, WeStarProductions.co. Any of our live events, donations, sponsorship packages, and any upcoming events will be found right there. And I think that's about it. And hopefully we'll just see you out there elevating everybody along with us.
So there you go, folks. Thank you so much, Jenny Ray Stine. I look forward to working with you and that amazing crew at We Star Productions. Thank you for coming to our show. Folks, we're going to be right back with a special guest, Beth Tinnon, brought to you by Dave Pena. Be right back. Stay tuned. Hey, folks, welcome back. We have a special guest here brought to you by ACMike Show contributor Dave Pena. It's the one and only entertainer, Beth Tinnon. Hope you enjoy.
Thanks, ACMike. I'm super excited about our next guest, a true Atlantic City icon and superstar, singer, songstress, musician, entertainer, performer, producer. She is the full package, the real deal. Please meet Miss Beth Tinnon. Beth, thanks a lot for joining us.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me today.
So when people think of you, they think of Atlantic City. And so they might be thinking, okay, she's probably a Jersey girl, maybe from New York, a New York performer, or somebody from Philadelphia. You're not from any of those places. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I did a lot of performing down there for Opryland and working for mostly country venues. But I've always enjoyed all types of entertainment, all types of genres. I ended up going to work for cruise lines and that sort of thing, but based out of Nashville, Tennessee. And that's where my roots are. My family's still there. I'll be in the Smoky Mountains next week as well. So I still have a lot of roots and a lot of family down there.
So what got you into the showbiz? What got you the bug?
That's a great question. I came from a family that really enjoyed music, and they were my great grandfather, my mother's grandfather. He played the fiddle. So growing up, I was always around music, and that was on my mom's side. And on my dad's side, there were a lot of family members who were involved in country music. My aunt was married to a guy named Earl Kilgore, and he managed Johnny Cash. He co-wrote the song Burning Ring of Fire. So growing up, I was around a lot of music, and I just loved music. I was in dance lessons, piano lessons. So I just really loved entertainment. I loved being a ham, and I guess that's what bit me. That's when I got the bug.
Yeah. So what was your first gig?
My first gig or my first paying gig?
Oh, wow. Both, I guess.
Let's see. My first gig. Wow, that's even a better question. My first paying gig, I believe, was at a barn dance. They have a lot of those down there, where line dancing, a lot of two-stepping, that sort of thing. But I always kind of like the blues and more of the rocking kind of country. Yeah. So I guess that was my first gig, and I had to have a chaperone because I really wasn't old enough to be in there, but I had family members with me, and so they allowed me to perform.
So what brought you up to Atlantic City?
I was, as I mentioned, I went to work for the cruise ships, and I was singing on Holland America Cruise Lines. I just finished a two consecutive contracts with Disney and a show band produced out of Las Vegas. So some of the people that were in the crew on the ship, one of the sound engineers said, you'd be great in Atlantic City. What are you doing with the contracts at? And I said, I haven't really decided what I'm going to do. And he said, you should check out Atlantic City. So that was 20 years ago. And I moved here when I was in my 20s. So it was a good time for me to be here. And, everything's timing in this business. And Atlantic City's always been, a mecca for entertainment, a lot of lounges, a lot of live shows. So it was a lot of opportunity here. So I ended up building a home here, and I've been here ever since.
And the thing is, whether it's tourists or locals, everybody knows your name or have seen you perform in one of the lounges or in the big rooms. Tell us about the experience you've had in the casino world and what it's been like.
Oh, wow. It's been a thrill. It's just a great way to, get in front of a bigger audience. There's always an influx of people coming into Atlantic City. So it's just been a thrill, performing at all the casinos. I can't really name one that I haven't sang at. So I've just really enjoyed meeting all the people. In 20 years, my fan base is just, people have become like family to me. So even though I don't have any blood family or blood relatives in New Jersey, I have a lot of family members, if that's what, that's the way I feel about it anyway.
I agree. And I feel like you have a cult following. And one of the things about seeing you live, you're mesmerizing. You could do any genre. You could work the crowd. You could work the room. Working a casino lounge is much different than having a 1 hour set stage show, which I know you're producing and working on. But explain to everyone what it's like to work the lounges, some of the situations you've been put in, and how you interact and deal with maybe the guy that had too much at the bar, or somebody that, is yelling and screaming in, bachelorette parties. I know what the casino lounges are like. So, and I know,
Yeah.
so what's it like to work that room, and how do you handle the rooms?
Yeah, I mean, I've performed on, large stages with people like Kenny Rogers, at the Palace Theater in Branson, the Grand Ole Opry, and I've worked small lounges. I've worked any room from a very small lounge to a big showroom. So, you're right. It is a difference, with the connection with the audience. And usually when you do a showroom gig, they're around an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, depending on, the venue that you're at. And most lounges are a 4-hour stint each evening. So, and I think the crowd changes. Like early in the evening, people are a little more subdued. As the night goes on, the crowd gets a little younger, a little rowdier. So you have to know how to transition. Some of the guys might get out of hand, but but we have a great support system at the casino, and the security is wonderful. So usually the bartenders can, give you that look like, "Are you in trouble?" And you're like, "I got it. I got this.
You definitely got it, Beth. That's why you're the pro. You're the pro. So you must see a lot of famous faces roll into the lounge after they're done with their showroom shows. Who are some of the famous people that have come to watch you perform?
Oh, wow. Dr. J, he used to love to come see me at the top of the Trop. When I had my lounge up there 5 nights a week at Tropicana Casino. I mean, pretty much, gosh, you name it. Anybody who's been in town, they usually make their way into the lounges, or you see them, coming into the casino to gamble or enjoy themselves. I think one of the biggest thrills for me, a guy named Steve Terrell, he's a producer and a wonderful musician himself. He was doing a show in the showroom at Tropicana and just happened to be coming through the corridor, and he overheard me singing, and he stopped and he came in and he introduced himself, and he just had a lot of nice things to say. I enjoyed meeting his band, and then he invited me to see his show the next evening in the showroom. And I knew I had a gig in the lounge later on that evening. So I knew I had to hurry. So I'm sitting in the 4th row center, and he stops the whole show and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to acknowledge last night I was walking through the casino and I just heard this beautiful velvet voice." And he said, "It stopped me in my tracks. Ladies and gentlemen, she's here this evening and she has a gig later on in the lounge. Matter of fact, she's here. Beth, why don't you stand up?" And the spotlight comes on, and I'm like, "Oh my God." It was a nice accolade, and he did. He sure did. He told everybody, he said, "After the show's over, I'll see you guys down in the lounge." So he came down there and all the fans came down there. So we just really had a great time and developed a friendship from there. And we've continued to stay friends. I think he just finished right before COVID producing the latest project for Diana Ross.
Oh, wow.
So, he's done pretty much everybody, you name it, from BJ Thomas to Aretha Franklin. He got Rod Stewart to do the American Songbook. He's more of like a jazz. Yeah. He loves jazz himself. A lot of his songs are in movies, and to have that kind of compliment from somebody like that, it really meant a lot to me, because he knows music, he knows singers, he knows the business. So that was quite the thrill.
He's got good judgment. So one last question, Beth. What's in the future for you?
Right now, we're just kind of gearing back up to see, every state's different, with how many people they can have at each venue. Atlantic City, being in New Jersey, we have different, guidelines that we have to follow because of COVID. But, right before COVID, the last week of February, I performed my show, Great Songs of the Cinema, inside the Resorts Casino in the Superstar Theater, which was another thrill. It's where Sinatra played, and Margaret, who's another one of my favorite icons. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm sure you know how many people have played that room, and it's just a beautiful room, and I really enjoyed playing there. So I captured some footage, so we're pitching that at some places right now, not only in Atlantic City, but all over the country. Just trying to venture out, because it's a great show. It's a one-woman show. I have a pianist that backs me up, but the movies that it's a tribute to the great songs and great movies that I love. Yeah. From Barbra Streisand to Titanic, Bodyguard. We have a lot of fun with it too. Of course, we put Diamond's Our Girl's Best Friend in there, and we get people involved and get them on stage. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Maybe just to see what the next year holds for everybody, because we're all getting back in business and kind of thinking outside of the box. So I think Atlantic City is my home now, so I'll base myself out of Atlantic City, but I'm trying to broaden my horizons and see, what other venues might be interested in the great songs of the cinema. So I'm looking forward to that.
I can't wait to see the show. I can't wait to see you back on stage anywhere. Beth, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. You're the greatest.
Oh, Dave, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Back to you, ACMike.
Wow. Thank you very much for that interesting and in-depth interview. Dave Pena, ACMike Show contributor. Special thank you to Beth Tinnon, entertainer. Folks, make sure you get out and see her. Stay tuned for our next guest. We'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome back to the ACMike Show. Now we have a special guest for you, real estate developer of Tennessee Avenue. Listen, place to be, the Orange Loop, you name it, Atlantic City. Mark Callazzo, welcome to the ACMike Show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hey, one of the busiest guys. They say I'm everywhere. Listen, man, they're full of baloney. Mark, you got so much going on in that street. Before we get to Tennessee Avenue, let's learn a little bit about Mark Callazzo. Tell us where you lived, where you grew up, and then what made your way down to AC.
Well, I grew up in Toms River. Been in the real estate business my whole life, and I've always had a place down in Atlantic City. I don't know if you remember the old Iron Room. We opened right after Sandy, so I guess 2012, 2013, so almost 8 years ago. So I've been down here for about 8 years, and then the last year I moved down here full time. So I'm a full-time Atlantic City resident now. This is gonna be my first election, next election that I'm voting in.
That's right. You know what? Atlantic City politics, that's another story, another show.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation in itself.
That's definitely something that we'll be talking about down the road. And you and I have talked about that quite a bit in the years that we've gotten to know each other. So I'm going to be honest with you, Mark. When, I was popping around City Hall and watching you and some of your others and the attorneys getting these permits and these fees. And I don't know if you know the wrestler, The Rock, when I heard somebody was going to do something on Tennessee Avenue, I gave him the Rock guy. I was like, what are they talking about? But you know what? It started there. It's happening throughout the city. What made you pick that particular place to start what you did, to redevelop, quite frankly, what you did?
So it all started with a few too many bottles of wine, and like a lot of good stories do. So I was at the old Iron Room on Albany Avenue with a couple of our investors, and we had a great dinner, and we finished, and we're having a cocktail after dinner, and all the staff was done and they were cleaning up. So we had a drink with all the staff, and at the time they were all in their 20s and 30s, and we were talking to them, and I said, where do you guys live? And they all said they lived in Galloway and Absecon, and none of them lived in Atlantic City. So I said, well, how come? Because my idea of a great night out is I go out, I have a good dinner, I have a bottle of wine, I go home, I watch the golf channel. But they said, there's no main street in Atlantic City and there's no walkability. And the example that they gave was, they said and keep in mind, this was 6 or 7 years ago. The Iron Room's on one side of town and Tony Baloney's on the other side of town, and there's no walkability. You're not walking from Tony Baloney's to the old Iron Room. So they said they would move to Atlantic City if there was a main street. So, I went home that night and I had a couple bottles of wine, and I said, I can help Atlantic City have a main street. And if you look at Atlantic City, Atlantic Avenue is too big to tackle of a project, and so is Pacific. So I said it should really be a beach block. So, where's the first logical beach block to start on? Well, Tennessee Avenue already had the Piccadilly. At the time, Perfectly Innocent just closed, but you thought maybe something would reopen, and you had the Irish pub, a block away. So I just started buying up property on Tennessee Avenue, and 5.5 years later, here we are.
And what I'm so glad you did, and we welcomed you. And what you did, not only did you do the embracing of the city and the folks, but the city started to embrace you. I can attest to one of the coolest events that I saw, and we're going to fast forward a little bit to about 2 years ago, I guess it was, the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, Ray McLean.
That was one of my all-time favorite Atlantic City memories. I mean,
yeah,
for guys our age, that was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing that day to be on Tennessee Avenue. First of all, to see the Tennessee Avenue Beer Hall, all the other places that were open out there, and now you have Larry Holmes and Roberto Manuel Piedra Duran walking around. Iran Barkley. How did you get that all together? And Ray is such a great guy who puts things together. It was just a perfect match.
Yeah, I mean, that was all Ray McLean. You know, he puts together that great Boxing Hall of Fame event every year, and we did a small dinner at the old Iron Room every year. And he said, now that you have more space, let's do a bigger event at the beer hall. So he just kept saying, all right, I'm going to have this guy come. I have this guy come. And at the end of the day, we had 3 heavyweight champs. We had a lot of other world champs. I mean, it was just an amazing boxing event on Tennessee Avenue.
It really was. I'm a sports fan, so I love football, boxing, wrestling, and that sort of thing. I'm not so much of an individual fan, but one that you had there was Roberto Duran. There's a picture on my wall with a boxing glove. I got a little video of him saying ACMike. I made him say ACMike.
And he was sitting right next to Iran Barkley. How crazy is that?
Hey, listen, I was at that fight, Mark. It was at the convention center. There was a snowstorm, and it was incredible. And it was another one of his comebacks. So listen, we got about a minute here. I want folks to know where they can go to find you and what else you have open out there at Tennessee Avenue, because there's a few new things, right?
All right. So yeah, Tennessee Avenue. Obviously, we have Tennessee Avenue Beer Hall, which is like the flagship of the street. It's gastropub food, 40 taps, great food, great beer, amazing cocktails, amazing outdoor space, live entertainment on the weekends. Cuzzy's Pizza is opening in a couple weeks. Amazing brick oven. We got it from California. We're going to have amazing pizzas. Rhythm and Spirits is the home of modern Italian cuisine, classic cocktails, great wine list. And then there's Bar 32, which is bean to bar chocolate. So we make chocolate from bean to bar. Amazing desserts, amazing cocktails. And then on top of Tennessee Avenue, you have Piccolo at the other end. You have the Irish Pub. I'm at Bourrée right now. I don't know if you can see. I know I'm not supposed to swing around, but I'm in the side room at Bourrée. This is their big entertainment room. So you can make a whole night, or you can make a whole week out of the Orange Loop. There's the Leadership Studio. There's just Live, Work, Play. That's your motto, and here it is, right on the Orange Loop.
I love it. So there you go, Mark Callazzo, folks. Make sure you get out there to Tennessee Avenue and the streets around it. That's the beauty of Zoom, where you get to move this thing around. We'd be sitting in the studio normally.
Make anybody sick, but
it's okay. Folks, Mark Callazzo, thank you so much for coming to the ACMike Show. And just like the man said, live, work, play. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
Thank you to all, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. For more information on ACMike Lopez, please visit Facebook pages Mike Lopez, ACMike, Live, Work, Play AC, and on Instagram at ACMikeNJ to stay up to date on all the latest happenings right here in Atlantic City. Thanks to today's guests, Jennifer Ray Stine, entertainer Beth Tinnon, courtesy Dave Pena, and real estate developer Mark Callazzo. Thanks to Stockton University. And folks, please remember to live, work, play AC. I'll see you on the 48. Make sure you join us next time on the ACMike Show. See ya.